Hello, we've got some little birds on our new tree. This is Felicity new tree, and that might be evolving as the weeks go by. But at the moment, here we have some lovely little birds sitting here, and I'm going to show you how to make them with scraps of yarn. So what we need today is some yarn. You might have it left over from a project, and you can adapt this for different amounts. So you might only have a tiny bit left, but you need 3 different colours. Okay, because we're going to have one colour for the head, one colour for the tummy, one colour for the wings, and they're all going to come together in the tail. So we need 3 different colours of yarn. We need some googly eyes. We need a little bit of felt for a beak. Mostly I have them hung up, but this little one has some feet, and if you want to make his feet, you need with the craft wire that you can make those out of. I must say craft wire is a new world for me, and I'm not sure they're the best feet on the planet because I'm honing my craft wire skills. I'm sorry, and I may have a little way to go, but you could have a go with that too. In order to stick googly eyes onto wool, you're going to need a glue gun today. So we have got the glue gun on and ready to go. Remember, these are no good for little children if you're using googly eyes. If you want to give them to very small children, which you probably shouldn't with this, but if you did want them hanging or whatever, don't use the googly eyes and put on little felt eyes that would not be as dangerous because they're very swallowable, as would be the feet and all that kind of thing. So no little children with this one. Okay, so what we're going to, and we need some scissors. What we're going to do is cut some strips of yarn, and the yarn I have chosen to do is 20 centimetres. I've experimented with the different amounts. There is quite a lot that we're going to waste with 20 centimetres, but I found if I made it smaller than that, it was a little bit awkward to tie. So you have a little experiment with the size of your bird, but what I'm going to do is 20 centimetre strips. So I've got a pink load, I've got a light pink load, and I've got a green load like this. Now, the reason I'm saying load is because it's really up to you how much you do. You want a handful, you want a bunch like this. I tried 20 and that was nowhere near big enough. So I then got bored of counting and put it together. So I think it might be about 40 strands that are 20 centimetres long, but you can absolutely adapt this for what you've got with your yarn. And you need to decide which one you want to have. I'll show you this one here. So the first thing we're going to make is his head and his tummy. So you need to choose the colour that you want for his head and his tummy. And I'm going to have a green head and a pink tummy. So I'm going to put these two together on top of each other and tie them. And you can choose either green or pink. But a lot of this is about the magic of the fact that when you use the same wool, it almost disappears into it. So I've put these two on top of each other, and I've got another strip, and I've just got green because I happen to have more green wool. And I'm going about halfway along and tying it. And I want to tie it as tightly as I can manage on here. So pull as tight as you can, and then tie a simple knot. And then those 2 bits of green are just going to become part of the other. So this is what you've got. I tied my green around the middle, tied it, and I didn't do any cutting with that. I just let those 2 become part of that. So it now looks like this. Now we need to decide whether you want to have a pink head or a green head. So I'm going to have a pink tummy and a green head. So my pink is going to be downwards at this point. So whichever one is your tummy is going to be on the bottom. And then I'm going to pick up all of the green strands from the other side. So I've picked up the green strands like this. Director, can we see this one? I've got this down like this. So the pink strands are along like that, and the green strands are up. The green strands are now going to fold back over the other ones, so that I've now got a pink tummy underneath, the pink one's laying there, and the green one's like that. And I'm going to tie again. So I'm going to get myself a little green strip. Now this is his body. So this is now the length of the body. We're going to have this going under. We've only got half of it at the moment, but the size between the middle and where we're tying is where you want its body to be. So I'm just coming along to a kind of, what do we reckon, 4 or 5 centimetres going along. and then tying this. The important part at this point is this bit. So this part of the body now, this is going to stay like this. The end part here, that's going to be his tail, and we're going to be cutting that. So don't worry what size that is. Don't worry if they're all uneven or anything like that. But this is his body. So make sure you're happy with this size. We've got the tummy underneath and we've got this bit here. Okay. So we're now going to get our wings. So I'm putting that down on the table, and the other colour, which for me is pale pink, is his wings. So we're going to put them all together. We're going to approximate halfway by just folding and keeping our fingers on that bit. And then we're going to lay that down on the table and put this on top, and the wings are sitting here where my finger is. Okay, so I'm putting that on there. The dark pink is going to be his tummy, is now going to pull round underneath. So I'm just going to pick this up and I'm going to make the dark pink go underneath. Director, are we seeing that? Because I think that's the most complicated bit. So the whole dark pink that was like that has now folded underneath. Okay, and we need to tie that on. You can, if you're feeling confident, tie that all in one go, because it's the same piece of wool, but I just thought it was easier when we were starting. So I'm now going to tie on top of the exact same bit that I did last time. So I'm going right on top to make his tail. Like that. Okay, so I've just pulled, it was sticking out there, I've pulled it underneath like that, catching the wings in the way in between like that, and then tied over the top here in the exact same place. Now, naturally he could be flying like that, but let's face it, they don't really look very much like wings, because our wings are not going to be out and flying because our little bird is sitting or resting on a tree. So we now need to pull up our wings. So it's looking like this, and I'm going to pull up the wings like that and like that on the side. So I'm just showing you how it looks from that side and how it looks from that side. So they were straight out like that, and then they were curled in on top of each other, and then we're going to get our last strand and tie. As you get more confident, all three of those ties can be done in one because they're all in the same place, and each time you need to pull. If you do have somebody else to put their finger on there and hold it as a really tight thing, that would be great. I don't have somebody else to do that, as our director's on the other side of the camera, but we're just going to pull it as tight as we can, and then we've got our bird like that. Okay, now his tail is all huge now, and what we need to do is we need to get rid of that. I'm going to get my bin because I know that this is going to be a lot of wastage here. So what I'm going to do is just cut this tail right the way across. You need some quite big scissors for this. I tried to use my embroidery scissors because I couldn't be bothered to move, and it didn't work. So big scissors definitely help, and a bin on your knee definitely helps. And then we have our tail. So our tail is full of all of the colours flipped up. Our bird has a head in one colour, a tummy in the other colour, and some wings coming up. And then he needs to have his eyes stuck on. And that's where we're going to get out the glue gun. Now, with the googly eyes, as I say, they're not safe for children. Now, I think birds have got quite small eyes. So what you need to do is make sure you're choosing your smallest googly eyes here. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue onto the googly eye itself and then deciding where they are. I tried some bigger ones, and if you were trying to make this into something that looked like an owl, you might want to do bigger eyes. But birds have actually quite small eyes. So I just put some there. That was a tiny bit hot on my finger, so be careful of that when you're doing it. I've cut the tiny piece of felt for his beak into a triangle, and I'm going to fold that in half and just put a little bit of glue along the bottom bit. To be honest, that's ever so slightly fiddly, and if you were doing this with children, this would very, very much be the bit there where they're going to need help. And then I'm going to stick that beak in like that, because that glue gun, you have to use the glue gun. It is a little bit hot, and it's a little bit tricky, but you're just folding it over in a basic kind of way and doing that. If you want a hanging loop, use the wool that's the same colour as his head that's going over there, and just tie it in, because it's all still quite loose like this. So if you want to stick his feet in, I just poked them up through the middle. You can spend ages trimming away at his tail, depending on whether you want it to be really fluffed out or anything. But he's going to sit here now with his friends, joining his friend in that way. You can make them in naturalistic colours, a bit more like this, or go crazy with the idea of like a parrot or something you like. It uses up quite a lot of yarn, but especially if you've got some bits of yarn left over that you don't want to use because it feels a bit funny, or it's the cheaper yarn, fantastic use for it. Give yourself a lovely little flock of birds. You could even give it a Christmas theme by making it a robin. See you soon for some more crafting. Bye.